Until recent years, refugee problems were unknown in Africa. But with the awakening of intense political life, this has unfortunately been changed. Take, for instance, Rwanda, that gained independence in July 1962. Already before that time, disturbances in 1960 and 1961 caused over 150,000 refugees to leave the country. These refugees needed help from the international community. This is their story. Is a new village in the high mountains of the Kivu province of the Congo. For the first time since its creation, the young men have come together to dance the Intore. Every beat and every movement of this 400-year-old dance is laid down by tradition. But this is not a Congolese dance. It comes from Rwanda, and the young men, like the other villagers, are refugees. Not so long ago, these young men danced the Intore before their Mwami, the king. Then the Watutsi people were the aristocracy of Rwanda. 600 years ago, they came down the Nile from Ethiopia to conquer Rwanda and the neighboring land of Burundi. They subjected the original inhabitants, the Bahutu, and established a feudal society which lasted until very recently. It was the impact of education and the wave of growing political consciousness among all the peoples of Africa that affected the relationship between Hutu and Tutsi. In Rwanda, the Hutu formed a political party. In 1960, they brought the feudal rule to an end and abolished the monarchy. The partisans of the deposed king sought to re-establish the monarchy. There were violent clashes, arson, bloodshed. In December 1961, over 150,000 people, supporters of the king, fled in terror of their lives. Some refugees managed to escape with their cattle. Important flocks reached Uganda and Tanganyika. But most of the refugees left without anything. Thousands who found themselves in inaccessible areas suffered severe privation. Many died from starvation, malaria, and dysentery before the outside world heard of their plight, and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and the League of Red Cross Societies could organize relief. When the news spread that help was available at various assembly points, thousands of refugees emerged from the bush in a most pitiful state.
Vous voyez, c'est une famille avec beaucoup d'enfants. Ils sont malnutris, avec grand ventre, amaigris, n'est-ce pas? Il y a eu des malades, il y a de malarie, de paludisme, il y a de dysenterie. Il faut les traiter.
They need treatment against malaria, dysentery, malnutrition. They are at the limit of their resistance. They need food and medicines. However, the refugees could not be left in the unhealthy areas. which in the rainy season are waterlogged, mosquito-ridden marshlands, and in the dry season, barren, arid zones. A shuttle service was therefore organized to take people to more hospitable regions. When the rescue operation started, the Congolese authorities offered good virgin land in the Kivu Mountains, as they knew that the Watutsi were accustomed to mountain climates and conditions. A small fleet of lorries was bought to ply back and forth over the rough jungle track to the resettlement areas. The journeys take between 3 and 10 hours, sometimes more, when the rain turns the surface into mud, hard on man and machines. Bibwe is one of the resettlement centers in the Kivu. Many years ago, the Belgian colonial administration created a civilian mission, now run by the Congolese, to organize the resettlement of Rwanda farmers from overpopulated Rwanda. This mission now helps with the resettlement of tens of thousands of refugees. Upon arrival, the elderly people, the women and children, are immediately taken to communal huts or tents, where the families can stay until they have built their own huts. This hillside, now called Saint-Kolonge, was a forest only a few months ago. Today, 10,000 people live here. Norwegian and Swedish missions have helped. So did various welfare organizations like the Oxford Committee for Famine Relief from Britain. Everybody is registered. Lists are used also to trace and reunite the members of families. Then follows the health check. This is a real must with the many weakened children whose resistance to disease is at its lowest. Incidentally, this boy arrived in an advanced state of starvation. There is a field laboratory to trace intestinal diseases caused by the drinking of polluted water. Measures are taken against epidemics. Vaccination is given to all not immune to smallpox. There is one worry, the high incidence of tuberculosis, particularly among the young. All the men contribute their services free to the clearing of the jungle. The men of each family build their own hut, but for the widows, and there are a great many among the refugees, the work is done by the young unmarried men. The huts are simple affairs, made of wooden poles, planted in the ground, to which light bamboo sticks are attached with string of long tough grass leaves. The roofs and walls are then covered with bamboo or banana leaves. Work in the fields has priority. Every family receives between 3 and 5 hectares of fertile land, tools and seed. Until the harvest is in, the people have to be fed. Every week there is a distribution of food organized by the International Relief Operation. Some of this food is brought hundreds of miles by lorry. Without this service, the resettlement operation would be impossible, for there are no local stocks, and it takes time before the land yields enough food to support the people. However, the distributions are a temporary feature of the operation. Tomorrow, the distribution day may become market day. Plans for the future include the growing of tea, coffee, the creation of a handicraft industry, the exploitation of the forests. These will bring in money so that the people will be able to buy more seeds, more tools, improve living conditions. Already now, the settlements are beginning to look like normal villages. Life is still primitive, but the people are anxious to make progress. The refugees want to replace these primitive huts later by more permanent constructions in brick, like those they had at home in Rwanda. Schools are being built, and if today these still lack teaching aids, this is partly made good by the eagerness with which the young ones want to learn. The fields planted by the first settlers are already yielding crops. Today, the people have adopted a pattern of life, a routine of work and leisure after work, that in all societies is a sign of normal life. This is what the international assistance has been trying to do, to give the refugees a chance to take matters in their own hands, help them to create conditions that make it possible for them to lead normal and happy lives. Does it mean that the refugees from Rwanda have now accepted their fate and no longer want to go back? Frère Alphonse, one of the Catholic brothers working for the refugees, says,
Les réfugiés qui s'installent maintenant à Biboué ou ailleurs au Kivu ont toujours encore l'espoir de retourner. Ils veulent travailler. Ils veulent faire beaucoup de travail, mais tout naturellement, ils ont toujours l'espoir de retourner dans leur pays.
The refugees still hope in their hearts that they may eventually return to their homeland. But in the meantime, they are ready to work, and to work hard. In fact, in their new villages, the refugees will be creating, day after day, a future for themselves and their children. Maybe one day they will say, "This is my land. Here we belong."